What do you make of the state of the New South Wales Labor Party, James?
Yeah, look, it's messy and untidy. Obviously, it wasn't a great by-election result on the weekend, Pete. It's put pressure on Jodie and her leadership. There's been some resignations. We're looking at Michael Daly coming back onto the front bench today. I think the thing we need to remember in terms of the messiness of this is the fact there's been some rule changes with how leadership challenges work now. You need at least 60% of the caucus to bring on a spill. So that's the first obstacle. And once you get through that obstacle, you need 15 caucus members in the case of New South Wales to basically agree to you to put you on the ballot for the membership vote as well. So we've actually now got membership input into these votes in New South Wales and at the federal level as well. So these hurdles were put in place to make it harder to have revolving door leaderships like we saw with Rudd Gillard. So, look, a necessary step, but I suppose it just means that you have more drawn-out leadership ballot and challenge processes. Clearly, things are coming to a head in New South Wales now. It's a bit messy, but look, the reality is New South Wales Labor isn't the main game at the moment. They've got time to get their house in order well before the next election in 2023.
But things are going backwards as things stand at the moment. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's another 2 years away before the next state election, so they do have time, but the way things are going, and it's under Jodie McKay's leadership, it's not heading in the right direction.
Yeah, look, ultimately, your leader's accountable for their electoral performance, and it wasn't a great result. I think expectations management wasn't necessarily well handled on the weekend. There was a sense that maybe Labor could win, and I think that I think we all know Labor was never a show in terms of the demographics of the seat, the history of the seat. It's a strong National Party seat, and there wasn't enough scrutiny on the government's vote. The national vote has gone down over a number of elections there as well. It's put pressure back on Jodie. Obviously, the caucus are having an internal discussion at the moment, and we'll see how that unfolds over the next few days and week or so.
Okay, you can just see there, James, before we carry on to our next question, that's the breaking news. So there's 11 new cases that have been reported in Victoria. I think there was 15 yesterday. Laura's here with me. Was it 15 yesterday?
It was.
Put you on the spot, 15.
Yes.
So that takes it 26 cases so far, and that's on top of the 70 exposure sites. So we don't have details yet on the level of a shutdown or where it is, but we'll come to that in a second. And James, sorry to interrupt you. We'll come back to Laura in a second. It's a bit clunky, this. That's my fault, though. Just one more question, James, on stage 3 tax cuts. It seems as though Labor's warming to the idea of keeping them, even though they're legislated?
Yeah, look, it's interesting because the economics of this have changed a bit, as we've remarked upon over the last few weeks, Pete. Chris Richardson saying, well, are they really sustainable now? It's $17-20 billion a year starting in 2024. Can the budget afford them? At the same time, the politics are really hard here. The government's really lined up Labor since the budget to focus on this issue. So you can sort of see Labor thinking, well, do we really want to be talking about income tax cuts and different income levels, over the next 6 or 12 months? It did hurt Labor at the last election where Bill got into an issue with a miner who was on a higher income as well. So, it may be easy to tap the mat from a pure political perspective, and it means it's harder for the government to sort of pitch Labor as being high taxes. So, obviously, that's something that they're sizing up until the next election in terms of their position.
Okay.